Today, we're going to go over some of the craziest news in SEO, and it's pretty wild stuff. So, what you're going to learn today is why SEO is easier than ever, the secrets from the Google algorithm leaks, my favorite new tool for content creation, plus the craziest SEO news from this week, and some wild stuff about AI overviews, the latest Google update, including a case study on how to rank in there and Google's official response to it so far. By the way, if you don't know me, I'm Julian Goldie. I own over 100 websites, built the SEO boardroom community and the SEO elite community with over 140 members, and I have a link building agency with over 100 clients. So we're going to get straight into this, and if you're enjoying it, please smash a like on it. And the first place we're going to start, of course, is the infamous Google algorithm leaks that were just leaked this week. Pretty crazy stuff right here. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. So what you can see right here is an anonymous source shared thousands of leaked Google search API documents with Rand Fishkin, right? And so there's like 14,000 pieces of information in there. There's some crazy stuff in there. And if you haven't seen it already, basically all of the secrets from Google's algorithm have pretty much been leaked. Now, if you look at the sort of history of this, right? This was announced on May the 27th, as you can see, which is just a few days ago. And since then, Google actually stated that they weren't going to comment on it originally, right? So you can see right here, The Verge released this article and said Google won't comment on a potentially massive leak of its search algorithm or documentation. Now what you can see is that Google has actually confirmed the leak search documents are real, right? So previously we weren't sure if they're real or not. If there's, it's an anonymous source, you don't know, okay, is it real, is it not, is it BS, etc. What you can see here is that Google didn't comment on it originally 2 days ago, and now they've confirmed the leak search documents are real, which is pretty crazy because that basically means all the secrets are out, right? All the information about the algorithm has already come out. And this is wild stuff because there's all sorts of crazy stuff in there. If I pull up the API document right here and we can run through it, let me share my screen with you right now. What you can see right here is this is the leaked Google API document. Now, if you scroll through the whole document right here, I think there's something like 2,500 different modules that look like this, right? And each of them confirms different information about Google's algorithm. Now, you got to bear in mind, take it with a pinch of salt. You can't come to any conclusions too early. And additionally, on top of that, you can't really be sure, okay, is certain parts of this weighted more than others, right? So, for example, there's some stuff in there like small personal site as a tag that actually marks websites down if they're a smaller site, right? So sites get labeled for being a tiny site, and then it's going to be harder for them to rank in Google's algorithm on the first page of Google simply because they have that small site tag to their site. Now, we don't know how much of this is impacted, right? So that could be like a 1% tweak, it could be a 0.1% tweak, etc. And we're not really sure which parts are which, but at the same time, it's extremely interesting stuff. And if you haven't been through it already, I would highly recommend checking this out along with Rand Fishkin's article. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please smash a like on it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them, and I'll try and get through to them and answer as many as I can. But there's some interesting stuff in there for sure. So you've got basically all of the secrets from Google's algorithm. This is like Google's internal engineering documentation, and it's all been leaked for you to check out online. And one of the most interesting things about this is there's such a discrepancy between what was announced publicly, in terms of what's coming out and been announced as, these are the ranking factors, blah, 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 versus what's actually in the documentation, right? So, for example, the sandbox period, a lot of people said, publicly from Google, there is no sandbox period. I think John Mueller actually posted that on Twitter. And if you actually look inside the algorithm, what you'll see is there is a sandbox part of the algorithm. Now, one of the things about this is that there's 14,000 different lines of code or whatever. There's 2,500 modules in the algorithm, and it's not really possible for one human to understand it all. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons, but still, the discrepancies are crazy. Now, I don't think any spokespeople from Google were trying to mislead people, but it's crazy to see, okay, this is what's being announced versus this what's actually in the algorithm, and there's a big gap between them. Now, one of the other things that's been found in the algorithm, iPullRank did a really good article about this, but basically there's a bunch of demotions, right? What are demotions? So demotions basically are lines of code in the algorithm that demote a site and make it harder to rank a site if you have these certain things applied to you, right? So, for example, if you have a backlink pointing to your site and the anchor text of that backlink doesn't match the context of the page you're linking to and from, then that actually creates a demotion. And therefore, if your link doesn't seem relevant or natural, that link isn't going to pass juice to your site to rank it, right? Quite an interesting one because a lot of people struggle with, ranking and backlinks and that sort of thing. And additionally, what you also see is if your site is hard to navigate inside that leaked API, there's something called nav demotion, right? And basically, this is a demotion that demotes your site and hurts your site's rankings if it's hard to navigate additionally. So there's some other interesting stuff right there. There's obviously, if you're in the adult industry as well, then that can create a demotion in your content. And yeah, very, very interesting stuff right there. So if you haven't been through it already, I would highly recommend checking it out. There's some other stuff in there as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But before I get onto that, I want to show you something else that has been happening recently. So let me pull up the screen right here. We'll go through it. So what you can see, even just over the last 9 hours, now bear in mind this has been going on since early May, I would say, or mid-May, something like that. AI overviews was released into Google. Now, if you're not sure what that is, if you type in a term like this into Google, you'll see this AI overview pop up into Google, right? This is a new update from Google Search Generative Experience, and basically AI is used to answer a lot of queries. So, for example, like smoking whilst pregnant. Now, if you look at some of the reception, for example, some of the latest YouTube videos, like this one from Tech Linked, who says Google ruined the web. Another one is Adam Canova, who said how Google ruined the web. And additionally, Optimus said Google search has been completely ruined by AI. The responses to the AI overviews are pretty bad, right? Pretty negative overall from what I've seen so far. And it's very interesting to see that Google have actually responded to that. So Google have actually released an update on their blog, and it's titled AI Overviews About Last Week. So if I pull this up and share it with you, let's have a look right here. So you can see it right here. This is what it looks like. And essentially, they're basically talking about what happened last week and what's been happening with the AI overviews, because there's some crazy stuff in there, right? If you haven't seen it already, AI overviews has been giving a lot of false information and pulling answers directly from Reddit. Now, why is that a problem? That's a problem because a lot of the answers that have come out are actually completely wrong or misleading, right? New King is just posted on here. Shout out to New King. Says, "Hi everyone. I have a question about AI generated content in the context of local SEO and rank and rent strategies. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. If you're enjoying this video, please smash a like on it. Feel free to say hello. Anyone who's on here, and I'll give you a shout out. But yeah, as we keep going through this AI overviews update right here, you can see this comes from Liz Reed, VP of Head and Head of Google Search right here. You can see that they've said a couple of weeks ago at Google I/O, which is their event, they said, we announced that we're bringing AI overviews to everyone in the US, right? User feedback shows that AI overviews people have higher satisfaction with the search results and they can answer more complex questions, right? Now, in response to all the craziness that's happened last week, so for example, if you go into AI overviews right here on Twitter and you look at some of the latest responses, for example, like some of these interesting responses that have come out so far, it's been pretty rough, right, for Google. So you can see, for example, here, it said food names that end with me, and it's come up with peanut, button, jorkum, and cream of, I'm not even going to say that on a live YouTube video, but you get the point, right? And so what we're seeing here is that a lot of people have posted some erroneous answers from overviews, and that a lot of people have potentially lost trust in Google, especially in terms of the AI overviews. And so what they've said basically is that they're scaling back what they're doing, right? So you can see the improvements they've made, And they've listed it right here. So they've said, we've built better detection mechanisms for nonsensical queries. We've updated our system to limit the use of user generated content. I think this is particularly the biggest problem, right? So if you look at AI overviews, if this pulls a response from Reddit, and that Reddit response is like some sarcastic person on internet who's just trolling people with their answers, then it's really dangerous because it could give the wrong information to someone who's genuinely trying to get help. And in the context of, say, something like YMWL, your money or your life situations, for example, health related queries, this could be really, really bad in the wrong hands. So we've got some more responses right here. So Akram, shout out to Akram, says, "Hey Julian, thanks for sharing your prompts earlier. Are you adding new to it? I'm playing around with SEO content creation prompts. Every single time I create a new tutorial on YouTube, I add to those prompts. So yeah, it's updated in real time with more and more prompts." Matthew Banks says, "Ola," shout out to Matthew Banks. Mikhail says, "Julian, you are a gem to the community, bro. Thanks for all the solid content." Thanks very much. Appreciate you watching. Shout out to Mikhail too. So we're going to keep going along with here. And what you can see here is they're adding restrictions for queries where AI overviews are not proving to be helpful. And I'll come on to some of the most interesting responses right now. I mean, like Liz says, right? There could be some screenshots that are fake or photoshopped or something like that. But I've certainly seen some really dodgy responses that haven't been faked, and it's crazy to see that. And you can see, finally, they've said for topics like news and health, we already have strong guardrails in place. For example, we aim not to show AI overviews for hard news topics where freshness and factuality are important, right? So if I go onto Google, I type something, I don't know, like this, will it generate an AI overview? Looks like it doesn't, which is quite interesting, right? So I can see why they're not doing it, but it does seem like they are still generating responses for health, right? So, like I said, if you put smoking, pregnant, which is a YMWL related term, previously, a second ago, it was generating an AI overview, and it still is, right? Which surprises me right there. So let's see how that develops. But it looks like it's rolling back. Now, why is that important for you? It's important because, number one, if people are upset by the AI overviews and they're not getting a good user experience, then Google's market share could potentially drop, right? And if they drop in market share, that means less potential traffic for all the SEOs watching this, unless you're diversifying your traffic, which I teach a lot about in the SEO Elite Circle. At the same time, this also means that if they're scaling back the responses that AI overviews is giving, then we all need to be less worried about, potentially losing clicks. Because if AI overviews is mainly only linking to authority brands, and potentially if you're not ranking like first or top 3, you're going to get less clicks. Well, if that's being scaled back, that means we don't need to worry about it. It's less of a threat to search, which is pretty good news, I think. Going to keep going through now. Let's have a look what other questions we got. Luxury Lifestyle says it has any AI content generator that you don't edit the content. Not sure what the question is right there, but if you're looking for AI content generators, I would say whatever tool you use, you got to edit the content. Like it's an absolute no-brainer, right? Especially for a website that you care about. So let's keep going through right here. And so far, just to recap, we have covered the Google leaks, how they've been confirmed by Google, what they mean so far, some of the latest insights from that, AI overviews and how that's being scaled back. Now, if you haven't seen some of the interesting stuff that's come from AI overviews, I'm going to pull up an interesting case study that came from Cyrus. So if you don't follow Cyrus, I think Cyrus Shepherd, it is on Twitter. I would recommend checking out his channel. But he basically posted this SEO case study literally today. So it's just a few hours ago posted right here. And he said, mini SEO case study, getting a site ranking in multiple Google AI overviews. He said, simply update the web page to closely match the text of the AI overview. So if you want to learn how to rank with AI overviews, this is quite an interesting tutorial. And so you can see you get a reference link. But even though they want the query within the AI overviews, you can see right here, they actually lost featured snippet. So it's quite interesting to see that if you re-optimize your content to rank within AI overviews by closely matching the text of the AI overview and updating it. That means potentially you could lose a featured snippet if you've already got it right here, right? And so you can see this patent from Google right here that suggests how you can potentially rank within AI overviews. Now, if we open that up, we can open it up as a PDF right here, and we'll zoom in. You can see this is basically documentation for the generative summaries for search results, right? So it's basically given us a step-by-step flowchart of how Google's algorithm works when it's selecting queries for Google AI overviews, right? So it says to receive a query. A query is basically like you type into Google, can birds eat ketchup or something like that, and then it selects a query that are responsive to the query, and then step by step, you can see how it picks one, right? Generate based on text, image, and or videos, optionally summarize and or include source identifier. Now, this is quite interesting regarding videos, right? I think videos, if you look at, for example, this case study right here where I ranked with AI overviews, number one, using videos, I think videos are going to become more and more important on the internet, especially with AI overviews. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. Sazid Mahmoud says, Julian, yesterday I saw some leaks of ranking factor stuff. What's your take? They seem real when we see many case studies. Yeah, so I've already covered that on this live if you scroll back or if you rewatch it. But yeah, it's confirmed as real. Google have already said it's completely real. They've confirmed and said, yep, this is legit. And so, yeah, the Google leaks are 100% real. I've already done 2 videos on it earlier this week. If you want to rewatch those and see step by step exactly how it works, if you check out my free course, links inside the comments and description, I've actually done a full documented summary step by step of all the actionable stuff and the 80/20 from the leaks. So you might want to check that out. But yeah, very interesting right now to see that happening. Chris says, hey bro, how it going? Your content is always amazing. Like always, you're the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you very much, sir. And appreciate it, Chris, for watching. That's great. I'm glad you find the content useful. So we're going to keep going through right here. And if you haven't checked out my video on ranking with SG, I would definitely recommend checking that out. One thing I want to come back to regarding the leaks is an interesting tweet by Corey Tugberg, right? And so, as I was talking about before, there's a big discrepancy between what was detailed in the API documents that have been confirmed as real versus what's been said openly, right? So, for example, some representatives at the company have said that the sandbox period is not real, right? That was a tweet that was posted publicly. But as you can see inside the API documentation, which still requires a lot more analysis, but if you look inside that API documentation, you can see that the sandbox is a real thing. And it's the same with backlinks, right? There were some official statements saying that links don't work anymore or that they're not as powerful as they previously were. But you can see clearly within the documentation that links are working really well. Sazid says, I'm so sorry, going to see you up next, but I don't know. I guess Google is toying with us. Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, there's this conspiracy theory, isn't there? That it's kind of like psyops and someone has leaked these documents from Google to try and like distract or to divert people away from what actually works. And maybe these documents aren't real, but I think that's a big conspiracy theory. And I think it'd be a lot of work for Google to do that. My take is that actually a lot of the information within the API just reconfirms what we already knew. And a lot of the stuff that I was talking about previously on the YouTube channel about how to rank is already inside that API, right? So for example, backlinks, that sort of thing. But as you can see, this is an interesting one from Corey Tugberg, who says, I believe the relationship between the Google parrots and the Google sheeps has reached its end. Now, if you're not sure what this is, basically, there's a bunch of SEO influencers out there who don't really test anything, right? They're called SEOs. They go out there, they tell people how to do SEO, but they've never really tested anything themselves. And basically what they do is they get all their information from the headlines that are published like publicly, but the problem with that is they haven't tested anything. And there's a lot of difference between what's stated publicly when it comes to Google's algorithm versus what actually works, right? And if you want to see more details about that, you can check out the SEO boardroom, links inside the comments and description. But essentially, if you don't test things, and if you take everything without a pinch of salt, if you take everything as fact that's announced, then chances are you're not going to get the results you need. Now, the biggest problem with that is that you have these Google parrots, these guessios, who come out and announce stuff without actually testing it. And then you get these Google sheeps who basically follow all the guessios out there. And, sort of like an echo chamber, they basically reconfirm what the guessios have said, right? And basically, it's kind of like Chinese whispers, where you get a load of BS circling around without anybody actually testing everything. And that's why it's so important not to trust my opinion, not to trust anyone else's opinion, but to take facts over opinions, test everything for yourself, experiment and see what actually works. That's the best way to get good results with SEO. Let's have a look what other questions we've got right now. So Akram says, personally, do you personally see AI overview features as added value to the layman user? I can absolutely go without it. I think for very complex terms, it could be useful, right? So, for example, if you went onto Google AI overviews and you were like, right, give me a list of the best guitar brands in a table and explain why each is better than the other, plus compare the prices and the brands, right? And or even like include the musical genres these guitars are the best for, right? Very, very complex search term, very, very complex query. You're not really going to find any content specifically for that particular query because it's going to be like 10 to 20 different words in the instructions, right? Then it's very useful. I think AI overviews has a place there. But when it comes to like, telling people to put glue on their pizza, as someone half Italian, I can confirm. As someone half Italian, I can confirm you probably shouldn't do that, right? Sorry about that. I just cut out for a second there. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff like that where you have to be really careful, right? So if you haven't seen it already, let me try and find some of these crazy AI overviews and some of the stuff that's been announced recently, right? So let me pull it up right here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So, for example, right, Adam Greenbaum, right, or Greenbaum, not sure how to pronounce that, but he says, I built two multi-million dollar businesses on Google. By the way, I did too. I built multi-million dollar businesses on Google. And he's saying, today I'm telling you to be careful of using his search until they figure out their AI overviews. How can such a massive company mess this up so badly? So if you look at this response, and this is what I was talking about before, right? If you're feeding the responses directly from a user generated website that's completely anonymous, like Reddit, it's not like you actually have your face and your name on that website, then if someone actually types that in and they're in serious help, this is really, really bad to show, right? Obviously, if that information gets in the wrong hands, then it's a total nightmare. So I think that Google AI overviews is great if you want to get very specific, harmless information, right? Best yoga studio in Lancaster within 2 miles that isn't expensive and has available slots tomorrow. That's a great response. But if it's something like, let's say, should you put glue on your pizza? Or is it okay to leave a dog in a hot car? Or how many rocks should you eat? I probably wouldn't take my advice from that, right? So I think anything related to something medical that could cause harm is a massive issue and something you have to avoid. Sazid says, oh no, Google already know I typed that, man. I am on Chrome. So yeah, I mean, for me, like I really like Google as a company, as a product. I think everyone loves Google search, right? But the problem is that stuff like this, it can get out of hand. And so it's important to sort of share this news and it's important to point these things out because if you don't, there's no change. And if there's no change, then these things spiral out of control, just kind of like how AI overviews was. And I think when Google sees all the stuff that comes out, they respond to it. And that's basically what they've posted on the website. So that's pretty much it. And then a couple other things I want to share before I go, right? Number one is there was something else found within the API, which is site focus score. Now, a lot of people are confused about whether topical authority is BS or not. Now, if you look at something like site focus score, essentially, this is like, I would say, the equivalent of topical authority inside the Google algorithm leaked, right? So if you look through the API documents, you're going to find site focus score. And this basically gives a score, a metric of how focused, aka how topically focused that website is, right? And so if your site has a strong focus and it's laser targeted towards certain topics in your niche, then it's more likely to rank better, right? Whereas if, for example, you try and cover all the topics and you have a very low site focus score because you're not very focused at all, then chances are your website is going to be less likely to rank. Now, I also think that other things play into account here. For example, like backlinks and the overall authority of that website. So, for example, like Forbes, they seem to be able to rank for anything purely because they have so much authority. But it's very interesting to see that if you're a small website trying to rank, site focus, aka topical authority, is a very powerful ranking factor. And so I want to share a few other things, right? So I know I mentioned before the SEO is easier than ever before. So I'm going to share some wins from the SEO boardroom recently, right? So each week inside the SEO boardroom, I tag everyone who posted their wins. We have this community where we all share everything. We share actionable tactics, etc. You can see all these members right here got loads of wins within SEO, right? So for example, like ranking number 2 in 19 hours, pretty crazy right there. And so if you want to get results like that, feel free to check out the SEO boardroom. We're going to show you at least one of these tutorials. I'm going to give you a freebie today. And what you can see right here is that this is just within the last 7 days. I've posted 4 different SEO tutorials, 3 agency tutorials inside the SEO boardroom, and 2 YouTube tutorials. So if you want to get access to that, links inside the comments and description. It's one of my new favorite tools, and I'm just going to open this up. Hopefully it does. There we go. This is a new tool from Mr. Beast, right? And basically you can access it for free. It gives you very accurate view counts and everything else for your competitors, which I think is great. But one of the best features I've found is this one right here. I think it was Kazra Dash who put me onto it, right? And so you can set these alerts up on topics in your industry and then figure out what is trending right now so that you can achieve similar results, right? So for example, you can see if I put in the keyword AI SEO and I sort by upload date, I can find trending topics of channels that are popping off. Now, I think that's really important, not just for YouTube SEO, but also for your website. Because the thing is, if you go after trending topics, number one, there's going to be less competition because there's a starving crowd of people and not enough information to go around because it's a brand new topic. But at the same time, if you look at AI overviews, it's going to struggle to go after current news topics. Like in the Google page I pulled up before, they're actually not providing AI overviews for news related topics, right? And so if you can find trending news related topics like these, for example, then this is an easy way to automate searching for trends very quickly. It makes creating YouTube content easier and it makes creating content in general easier, right? So I would highly recommend checking out. That is one of my favorite tutorials right there. And if I open this up, let me show you an example of what it looks like. So these are the type of tutorials that I post. So you can see, for example, this is how to find easy trending topics. And you can basically set up alerts on topics and number of views, automatically finds the videos for you. You can easily see the thumbnails and you also see the outlines and that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. If you want to check that out, would recommend it. That's available at viewstats.com. And I'm not an affiliate or anything like that, but I think it's very useful for anyone who's in SEO. Tom says, so is it bad to take multiple positionings and then blog about them? I'm not sure what the question there is, but if you're trying to get multiple positions on the first page of Google for the keyword that you're trying to rank for, if you're doing that across multiple sites, multiple platforms, it works very, very well. If you're talking about, okay, should I create multiple viewpoints targeting the same keyword, then I would just have one page for that, right? You don't need to create multiple pages for that. Otherwise, you're going to cannibalize all the keywords that you're trying to rank for. Chris says, do you think we should use ChatGPT and break down the leaks and analyze them to help with our SEO strategies? Yeah, if you check out my free course, you'll see a bunch of actionable ways to implement the information from the algorithm leaks, right? So that's available inside the description of this video. And basically, you'll learn all the actionable stuff from it, right? Now, there's going to be more information coming out, but from what we know so far, I've given you the 80/20 inside my SEO course, and that is broken down by ChatGPT. Sazid says 2 months ago, worked for a client, worked on technical and on-page SEO. He had good backlinks, DA27 on SEMrush. After my works, he ranked with his keywords. Boom, good on you. Good to see those wins. Shout out to Sazid. Taking action. Chris says use. And Tom says, I meant multiple marketing positions. So it depends what you're doing right there. But if you're just like going after, if you're going after keywords, yeah. So if you're trying to rank like your website more than once for the same keyword, probably not going to work, right? You just want to have one page, one keyword. And at the same time, if you want to rank multiple times for the same keyword, then you just do that across multiple platforms, right? It could be YouTube, it could be LinkedIn, it could be whatever you want to use. And if you're talking about like multiple different angles of looking at a keyword, right, and trying to create content around that, then you can do that, but you would have it on one single page, right? So for example, if you look at a lot of search engine journal articles, when they're creating an article, they'll have loads of different viewpoints and tweets from loads of different people in the industry, which means that they break down the topic from multiple marketing positionings, but they do it on one page without cannibalizing that keyword. So thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them and I will get back to you after the video. I'm going to go, but if you want to book in a free SEO strategy session, if you just want me to personalize everything that we've talked about today and apply it to your website, then feel free to book in a one-to-one SEO strategy session. Links inside the comments, and we'll basically give you a custom tailored game plan. And even if you don't hire us, it's okay. You can just take everything and walk away and implement it yourself. But either way, we're just happy to help you. Tom says, I see great answers. Cheers. Thanks. Happy to help. Chris says, thank you for all you do. As always, man, it's a pleasure. And Sazid says, yeah, bye. May God be with you. You too. And Akram says, solid content as usual. Much appreciated. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, smash a like on it. And don't forget to check out the SEO boardroom. We've only got 2 more spots. They're going to run out today. After this video, they're gone, right? And so if you want to get spots in the SEO boardroom before the current price tag goes up, get it right now because it's only going to go, right? See you on the next one. Web Ninja AI says thanks as well.